Okay, so I should be able to freaking record right now. So where do I start? Gather the thoughts. Just can you freaking believe that I'm Savior and I? Like, how? Like, I believe it. I did the whole being shaved, and I got my official type, which, by the way, is this type. So I was a bit off from the type that I thought, which was this one. This is supposedly my type, but it's still, it's so crazy. Like, just, I don't know. I think it's just the masculinity, the complete lack of any sort of trail in my head. Because, like, I always have to struggle. Like, I understand the savior part, like the fact. But yeah, I don't even know if I'm going to freaking include this in the video. So, I actually had already recorded this video, but I decided to re-record it because I just, well, first of all, let me try and start this freaking video. First of all, this video is the third video of my Shaking Objective Personality series. The series where I'm trying to explain all the coins of the objective personality system from a somewhat survivalistic point of view. Except that, as the key point says, it's actually not the case for this video. Because this video is going to be a bit different. Because, you know, this video is about the animals. And as you know, the animals are mainly like a combination of the functions. And so, because they are a combination of the functions, and I already talked about the survivalistic stuff of the functions in the previous videos, what I'm really doing in this video is actually trying to give an explanation of why I think the animals work the way they work. Like, how do I think the pathways in your brain. I'm actually realizing having this paper flying around while I explain it's a bit annoying. What was I saying? The pathways in your brain. So that's what I'm trying to explain. How the functions connect to make the animals, why the jumpers are a thing, stuff like that. So now let me pick the freaking paper again. What do I need to say now? Yeah, so reminder about this, that everything that I'm going to say, which is also like, it counts also for the previous videos, but I'm saying it now, it's not like I have no way of proving what I'm about to say in this video, or, well, the only video that I can prove something is the modalities video, but I'll get to that when it's time. But mainly, everything that I say is just a best guess. So don't, you know, at me with the show me your freaking research, or I don't have anything. I don't even have the freaking checklist data stuff that Dave and Sean usually do. Like, I literally have nothing. But the main goal, well, not the main goal, the main like lead, let's say, that I'm following through this video is that I'm staying attached to the objective personality definitions as close as possible. My point is basically I'm trying to be like some sort of super glue between the definitions and like an actual evolutionary kind of explanation, but regardless, it's still a best guess. So don't freaking grind my nuts. Also, if you come from MBTI and you have your bullshit subjective definitions that you read on a freaking Tumblr site like I did at the time, don't come at me saying, oh, but actually I think FI it's like this. I don't care. I don't care. I'm talking about objective personality. If you want to have your freaking own definition of what FI, TI, and whatever it is, do what Dave and Sean did. Do the freaking two people in a separate rooms, like 90% accuracy, well, fluctuating between 60% and 90%, but still high accuracy. So if you do that, then you can come at me and say, oh, actually I have this fucking observation with my partner, my cousin, my dog, whatever you want. It's just don't freaking grind my nuts in the comments with MBTI bullshit if your only observations are subjective fucking observation. Just don't, okay? And by the way, I will have a completely separate video in the future just to destroy you and destroy everything that MBTI stands for, because I hate that shit. I hate how MBTI people think. I hate that they are not able to see how objective personality did what they were never able to do. And I will freaking destroy your entire being in a single video. Just not this video. So if you want to be absolutely annihilated, just wait for that video, but don't grind my nuts right here, because I'm not going to reply to MBTI people in this video. So this is it. Yes, so what I need to talk about now, I need to talk a little bit about analogies in general, let's say. What do I mean with that? The point is this: when you make theories, when you think about stuff, you tend to make analogies to like better explain the theories, or because the actual analogies are like visually representative of the theories, you know, stuff like that. The problem is that people don't realize that sometimes those analogies, those mental pictures, even single words, whatever, they tend to become dangerous in the fact that, like, it's true that an analogy is very useful to you know, deliver a concept better, faster, whatever. But if you find yourself using the wrong analogy, or maybe not even the wrong analogy, maybe it's just an analogy that is not like, you don't have a complete perspective over what you're trying to say, you will find that the analogy actually makes you stuck for a long time on a single view, and you cannot escape from that view because you're so attached to that analogy, to that way of explaining things, whatever. So, like, just think, for example, about how many times gravity has been re-explained or like rediscovered, because like the first person freaking had an apple fall on his head, and they thought about gravity like that, and then people thought about gravity like that for centuries, and then another fucking crazy man comes out and says, oh, actually, you know, if you consider photons and gravitational waves and all the bullshit that you can't even see, but I see them because I don't know. So, like, you see how it's easy to get stuck on a concept for centuries even, just by not seeing the bigger picture. That's what I'm trying to say. The wrong analogy, the wrong mental picturing can keep you stuck thinking about the same thing in the wrong way. And in the case of objective personality, this like wrong analogy, wrong mental picture is actually the way we describe the axis. Because the way we describe the axis right now, it's this sort of very kinesthetic kind of way of describing the axis, which it's a good analogy in itself. Like, it's very useful to explain the imbalances of the functions. But again, like, when you think about the brain, because like cognition is in the brain, and the brain is not like a, how the freak is it called? Let me read it. I never remember how is it called. A Rube Goldberg machine. The brain is not a Rube Goldberg machine. Like, your brain does not function with marbles, balloons popping, and levers freaking going up and down. That's not how the brain works. So when you think about the axis in terms of imbalances, you know, and flipping the switch, it's like, okay, again, it's good for explaining how to type a person, but it's completely wrong and terrible in trying to explain what happens into the brain. Even this picturing, you know, this, I call it the tiny ghost diagram, because it looks like a little ghost if you look at the at the outlines. So this little ghosty diagram that Dave and Sean always used, like, again, it's a great, I guess, representation of a person type. It's a great global view, let's say, a great overview. Well, arguably, because the table kind of freaking sucks, if I have to be honest. Like I'm not a UX designer. I don't design user interfaces, but I'm pretty sure that if you need 20 steps to explain a table, it's not a good design. It's not an intuitive kind of design, you know? But yeah, again, that's not the point. The point I'm trying to make, even in this diagram, there's, you know, the axis connected, and so you're still thinking about the functions in terms of two things on the same lever kind of thing. Point is, the, let's say, actual way, or what I think is the actual way that the functions are connected is like you could actually see it way earlier. In the like objective personality explanation of things. The secret is stored, let's say, in one of the most mocked and neglected piece of imagery that you have also in the OP ebook itself, which is the picture of the brain. This 4 letters picture, it's actually the secret to unfold how the functions supposedly actually connect into the brain. Only thing you need to do is to draw 4 freaking lines. Like, you take away the brain, first of all, take away the freaking brain, take the letters as they are, you know, laid out, and just draw 4 lines. And that's it. That's how the functions connect into the brain. And if you notice, like if you take my my bone diagram, or how I call it, the cognitive execution diagram, you will notice that this layout, this diagram, is actually basically the same diagram, and you just take the F points and you connect them together, and you have the actual connections of the functions. And if you stop a little bit and actually do some examples with the function, you will notice that's actually how you stop and think when you do something. Like, for example, let's say that you're hungry, like your brain goes like, oh, I'm hungry, which is negative. What's the positive version of being hungry? It's having something in your stomach. And then you go like, okay, now what do I do to have something in my stomach? And then you go like, okay, I go making a sandwich. Basically, that's roughly what your brain does every time that you have to make a decision or something. Now, of course, it would be wonderful. Oh, and by the way, this diagram that I just showed, the name, now I know you're just, I have a TI name. The diagram is called, actually, I forgot the name because it's been so long. It's been so long after I recorded this video the first time. The cognitive relay diagram, of course, because it's relaying the information, because that's the point of the other analogy, because the brain does not work like a cog machine, it works like an electricity grid, let's say. So it's like information going around in the form of electricity. Oh yeah, by the way, if you don't like the freaking name, just write something in the comment, like, because literally everything funny or, I don't know, friendly that I could come up with freaking sucks, because it was like the square diagram, the wiring diagram, the you do you diagram. Do you like that? The you do you diagram? I have literally no freaking clue. So again, if you want to write in the comments ideas for a more friendly name, feel free to do so. For me, it still stays the cognitive relay diagram, so don't freaking grind my nuts, okay? But yeah, I was saying that this is the generic version of the diagram. Like, it's not, because of course it would be wonderful if we all did this, 4 letters relay in the same way. But unfortunately, that's not how we work, because, freaking evolution wants us to survive. And it just turns out that to survive better, you need people with different, inclinations, with different fears, with different whatever. Because if you don't have that, I don't know, I guess you would just be convinced you can do everything. Well, actually, even in this scenario that we are living in, we are still convinced somehow for most of our life that we can do everything, but that's not the point, at least most of us. Well, actually, it's not true. I don't even know what I'm saying at this point, but well, we are convinced that we can see everything, okay? Maybe this is better. Maybe this is better. So yeah, again, this is the generic version. So the more specific version is laid out in a very particular way, but it's still, the 4 connection like this is still the same. It's just that you have the first function at the top, and then you have the last function at the bottom, and you have the second grunt function, the second grand function, not the function, because that's probably on another site, but you have that on the, sorry, I have to freaking call the visuals, left, yes, you have that on the left, and then you have the third function on the right. So just to make an example, if you're an INFP, you have FI at the top, TE at the bottom. Did I say INFP? I think I did. NE on the left and SI on the right. And this is always like going to be the case for every cognitive type, because like if I keep this layout, it's going to help the people switching from MBTI to quickly identify the type. Like if the actual Grant, can I even pronounce that? Grant. If the actual Grant stack, oh my god, I hate English and all your stupid useless vowels. The Grant stack, it's going to be always laid out in the same way, in the same place, with the same shape. So it's easier for the people coming from MBTI to quickly identify what of the 16 types we are talking about. And then the animals are going to take a certain appearance, let's say, but I'm going to show that in a moment. Now to get to the freaking animals, let's actually no, I completely forgot. Well, I still need to do this part. Whatever, just ignore me at this point. keep listening to me, but ignore me. I don't know how you're supposed to do that, but do that in some way or another. So again, first function at the top. Why am I doing this? So if you think about what David Chan says, you have this situation, let's say, where somehow your brain has a savior wiring and a demon wiring. So to me, it looks like the first function at the top is kind of the main processing point, like all the information goes back to your main function because that's the main way that you're perceiving the world. And so that function is supposedly connected to the more savior state kind of wiring. So it's like the most calm, well, not necessarily calm, but like the not freaked out version of yourself, basically. That's what I'm trying to say. So that's your main processing point, and on the other side you have the more demon kind of point. And so like the last function supposedly is more connected to your, I don't know, fight or flight response, to whatever makes you freak out. And if you look at this connection, the point that I will now make is this. So let's make an example with an ENTJ, because I need to get to a point later, so I need an ENTJ right now. So yeah, this is the point. If you look at the first function, you notice how the double observing in the ENTJ comes from the connection to the first function. It's not like the double observing, it's not because, I don't know, the freaking axis is more balanced. It's not because of that. It's because those two functions are directly connected to your main processing function. And that's what causes the double observing, because the last function is on the other freaking side. Like, to relay the information from the last function, you need to go through the other two functions. And if you really stop and think about what you're doing, you will notice that that's weirdly what you're doing. And like, I can picture that for myself. It's a bit harder for me to picture that for other cognitive types. So like right now I have an ENTJ on the screen. It's very weird for me to think that an ENTJ is actually reaching the self function through the observations. It's such a weird concept to me, but that's like, I'm 95% sure that that's what's happening inside the mind of an ENTJ. And it's even weirder to think about observers, like the fact that Dave, for example, has the NI at the top, and he reaches the SE through the freaking self and the tribe. Like, it's just like by thinking about what other people are doing and like what he cares about, he can then reach the freaking sensory observation. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? But it, like, I promise you, I know that it doesn't make sense, but I promise you that it works, because if you lay out the functions like this, every single math of the animals falls perfectly into place. In fact, you may have not realized yet, but the animals are literally in front of you, and also the explanation for the jumpers is already in front of you. So think about this. As I said, you have the first function, and the point is that the first function being like your main processing point, something like that, you basically need to relay back to that. So however you lay out the wiring, you have to know that you must come back, like the information must come back to your first function. So if you imagine like your DNA kind of playing, I don't know, a flip a coin kind of game when laying out the freaking wiring, you will now see how the jumpers on this layout are very easy to explain. Because like if you start from the first function, you now flip a coin and you have to decide, okay, do I go this way or do I go this way? And once you decide that, you have your first animal. So for the ENTJ, if you go this way, you're blast first, and if you go this way, you're play first. It's a simple binary decision of the DNA to lay out that wiring first or the other wiring first. And from that, you just keep going. Like, you know, it's always the main rule you have to remember is you have to relay back to the first function. So by logic, let's say that you are play first, you cannot be like sleep second because it's on the other freaking side. you cannot connect the segments to relay back to the first function. So you have two choices. It's either the blast or the consume. So now let's say that you do the consume. Now it's the same thing again. You have to relay back to the first function. So you can choose either segments that you are left with. It's really that simple. At least I'm honestly 100% that this is the actual explanation. Because explained like this, it explains so many things about everything about objective personality that has never been explained up to now. And so let's say that your full type is play, consume, and sleep. So as you may have noticed, I'm just trying to get to Shan. So quick interruption, the two arms that you're seeing here, it's actually the masculine function. Since I'm talking specifically about Shan, I thought it was a good idea to show in this diagram how I decided to show them, basically. If you're telling me that this is not the funniest OP diagram that you've ever seen, I don't know what to tell you. Because through Shan, I can do a little segue on the freaking glass lizard. Because as you may notice, in this version of the diagram, it's even easier to spot the glass lizard. Because the glass lizards are literally types that have one of the first two segments as the last segment. And so they are super easy to spot, like visually. That's why I also love this representation of the diagram, because you can see everything in the blink of an eye. You don't have to stay there and think about a freaking table on the right in 20 freaking steps. No, there's everything in front of you. Well, almost everything. Truth is, the diagram is not yet finished, which is also why I was taking so freaking long to make this video. And then I decided, okay, let's stop sleeping on this freaking diagram and just like I literally just made the parts of the diagram that were enough for me to show the pictures in this video, but the diagram is not ready yet. And when this video comes out, it might still be not fully ready yet. I don't know, I'll see what I can manage to do. But anyway, I'm not just here to talk about the diagram. I'm also here because I need to redo the very last part of the video. First of all, because it was way too long for no reason. And second, because I kind of refined the explanation for that. Because the segue that I wanted to do at the very end is that you might be not confused, but like you might be wondering, how is it possible that like a person like Shan, for example, how is it possible that she's still a double observer? Like, because if the last animal is made of crap wiring, how is it possible that the first explanation that I gave of the two functions being directly connected, how is it possible that that still works? So you have to think about this. The double observing is not about the relaying of the information, it's about the freaking out. So when you think about it like this, you see how the demon state down here, it's like it's equally as distant from the savior state up here. So like unless Shan is not FI triggered from some like mental pattern, it's not going to cause a demon state, let's say. And sure, she's going to have like, because this segment is the less strong, let's say, she definitely has supposedly trouble accessing DNI as well as a standard ENTJ would, but it's not going to freak her out. Like, it's not the NI itself, it's not going to generate a freak out, even if she's not able to access it as efficiently as a standard ENTJ would. But interestingly, you will kind of notice, at least in my own observations, that glass lizards do tend to have this very one-sided way of freaking out. Because sure, Shan has the FI at the bottom that generates the freakout states, but it's almost as if the fact that she's a glass lizard, it's like the NI is pulled inside of the demon state more frequently because she struggled to connect it to the savior state. It's very weird to explain, but it's also why I love this diagram. It's because it seems that when you have this layout in front of you, at least in my experience, I notice way more patterns that you wouldn't normally notice just by knowing about the animals. Like for me, it helps me really see how the person is relaying the information in different circumstances instead of just generically speaking. Now, there was also going to be another part to this video, but I'm going to leave it for another time because it's just, I know the video is already too long. But yeah, there was supposed to be another part where I was explaining why, technically speaking, you're always using 3 segments when you're executing an animal. But again, it's going to just, I'll just leave it for another video when the SOP series is going to be finished, I'm going to make a video about that straight away. So yeah, again, I don't know if the diagram itself or, you know, the site of the diagram will be up and running for when this video is out. Just check the description. If it's up and running, I'll put a link in the description. If not, I don't know, I'll just send the link in the Discord in the future, whatever. I'll probably also make a post on YouTube, even though I guess no one really looks at posts on YouTube, but maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just my playlist. But yeah, if this diagram helps you in any way, the thing that would help me the most is for you to use it, to share it around, because if you start using it and sharing it, I guess it's going to catch Dave and Shan attention, which is my main goal, because I really think that this diagram is going to basically help really see better what's going on with people when typing them. At least to me, maybe it's just my subjective experience, but again, if you notice that it helps you with anything in typing, as much as it helps me, again, the best thing you can do for me is just use it, share it around, share this video if you want to share it with someone. Yeah, that's it. Again, if you want to leave comments, feel free. If you liked the video, leave a like. If you didn't like the video, leave a dislike, because I mean, it doesn't even matter with this, like with how you